My name is David Esparza. I have had Parkinson's for approximately 13 years. I was diagnosed about 13 years ago. A neurologist that I was seeing, because really I was telling the neurologist that I really didn't want to take medicines. That, I was in really good condition, and at the time I was playing and coaching handball, and I told her I didn't really want to take drugs. That I didn't want to take the medicines, and she told me about trying marijuana in a tea form, and that the tea would be really relaxing, and that she's heard. She wasn't sure, but she says you might want to try that. So I tried it. It stopped my shaking. It makes me feel like I'm not shaking that much, and it is noticeable to other people when I do medicate that I am not shaking that much. Now, my stages of Parkinson's has really increased. I'm shaking a lot more when I started 13 years ago. The shaking got so bad, I had to start taking a pill called carbidopa-levodopa. I can only take that so much, because if I over-medicate, I'll have hallucinations. So in order to relax more during the periods that I can't take it, I medicate with marijuana. I'm sure my neurologist has never tried any of the medicines that she's prescribed to me, and I don't think she could handle the medicines. It took me about 5 years to get used to the medicines that have been prescribed to me. My stomach couldn't handle it, and just within the last year, I'm able to handle the medicine, because it took my body a long time to take it. It was making me every morning I was like I was pregnant. I was wanting to throw up, and so now the pot helps me in the morning, because it gets rid of the nausea, the throwing up feeling, and I'm able to handle those medicines better too. I think it helps me. It gives me a better attitude. I don't feel like a victim. I feel more like, I'm not saying happy, but I do. I feel good about myself, and that's one of the reasons that I'm letting you feel me and talk about this, is because, I don't want to feel dirty about myself. I've had to explain to my son, and he sees the difference in me, how I change, from from the shaky person, to a person that's not shaky, and I look kind of normal like his other friends' dads. And I don't want to be ashamed of what I'm doing. It's like when I went to speak to the city council, I said, "You're honorable," and I want to feel like I'm doing something honorable. I don't want to feel, to my own son, I don't want to look like I'm not as honorable as the next person. I'm just as good as the next person. Although I do shake a little bit, maybe they don't. The main thing for my son, when you mentioned it's a soft spot, is that, I want him to be proud, like any father wants his kids to be proud of him. I want the same thing. This is relieving my pain, and anything that could help anybody to relieve the pain of what it makes them feel good about themselves, well, give it to them, damn it. All right. I was at a friend of mine, and we were playing cards, bridge, and they were very conservative people, and I had to excuse myself because I was shaking so much before the game, and I went to Yukon, the store, went in there explaining what my symptoms were, and they had made the recommendation to this Yukon. And, I thought it was, because I've tried all these other strains, and none of them had really seemed to work. And one of the employees says, "Try this and call me back and tell me what you think." Well, I thought it was the best thing since Christmas, and it really worked for me, and I called him back excited, and I told him when I went back to the bridge game, my friends had seen me, and they said, "What happened to you? Tell us." They couldn't believe. They knew I had done something, to myself, and then I had to go and tell these very conservative people that I had medicated myself with marijuana. At the end of telling them the story, they were willing to grow it for me because they saw the big change that it had made in me. As far as the benefits, for me, it helps me with my attitude, helps me with my shaking, helps me deal with my new life of 13 years. It helps me. I don't know what effect it has on other people, but it helps me tremendously. It just gets me in a different attitude. Next thing you know, I find myself in the garden, or I find myself, making a tree house for my son, or I find myself playing with the dogs. So it really helps me to have an attitude, a good attitude, I think, about myself. And whether, I don't know how I look to other people or what I look like on the other side of the lens there, but I know what I feel like in my head. I feel good. I wish the people at the city council could see this right here. And look at this. I feel bright. Look at that. I mean, come on. Right now, I am completely stopped. It's like, even my mother one time when she saw me.